Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin and today I'm going to talk to you about what not to buy and what not to register for your newborn. So I want to go ahead and preface this video, just like I do all my others, by saying that I'm obviously not some sort of child care expert or child development researcher or anything like that. I just simply read a ton of books on alternative parenting styles, especially RIE parenting, which is resources for infant educators, and resources that go along with RIE parenting, Objectivist parenting, that's Rosalind Ross's philosophy, and basically my own philosophy of how to raise and coexist with another person. So yeah, so don't take anything personally if it doesn't abide by your guidelines or your lifestyle or your personal philosophy on parenting or relationships in general. This is just my advice and what has worked well for me and my family. So I always gotta cover that, but here we go. If you watched my must-haves for your newborn video, you'll notice that I kept it very, very simple because what you need is very little actually, and what you have to invest in, it's such a small list. That's why that video is pretty concise, straight to the point, very simple and short. This video, however, is going to have to be a little bit longer and more detailed because the list of things that people tell you need is huge. I want to go ahead and go over the things that you absolutely do not need, or just give you a little bit of insight as to why you might rethink some of these purchases for your benefit, for your child's benefit, and for the benefit of your household. Because let me tell you, when you have a baby, the dynamic of your house is going to change in many ways, especially if you have a small apartment like I do. Like if you're in a big city like me, I highly doubt you're living in a giant house. So there's not a lot of room to have a bunch of toys and accessories and just objects for your little one. So let's go ahead and get started. So my first category is travel gear, and this is my number one on this list of what not to register for and what not to buy, because I am strongly against travel systems for your baby, such as a travel car seat and a stroller that's compatible with a travel car seat, which all of them are, but I'm talking about ones that are only able to use the traveling car seat to function as a stroller. The reason I have this opinion is because of Dr. Emmy Pickler. She was an expert in child development on the physical aspect. She was a wonderful pediatrician that worked with Magda Gerber, and she has scientific proof and evidence that shows that a baby develops best when they're left alone to develop naturally and organically. So that position that a baby is in the traveling car seat is actually really unnatural for them, and it's bad for their lungs, it's bad for their spine, and in general it doesn't allow them any freedom of movement like a bassinet or a pram stroller would. So that's my preference. On the same note, I like to point out that if you have a travel system for your baby, they're going to be in that position, the scrunched unnatural position, for very long periods of time because it's such a convenient thing to have. When you have a travel car seat, you can leave your baby in the house. Like, let's say they fall asleep on your way out the door. Great. You put them in the car, they're in there for the duration of the ride, and then let's say you go into the grocery store, the restaurant, wherever you're going to be, and they're still remaining in that position, back in the car, then back home. You could see how that would lead to hours of time of your baby not being in the best position, which is lying flat on their back. Not to condemn anybody that uses these. Like I said, it's super convenient. It's it's extremely convenient. That's pretty much the only upside I would say there is to that. And I know, like, to install these car seats, it's really simple and easy peasy, but for the benefit of your baby and their development and their safety, I would say I always recommend getting a stroller that has a pram or bassinet attachment and just a convertible car seat. There are a lot of benefits to that choice, but obviously your baby's health is the number one benefit there. A couple of others just to throw out there are the fact that you're going to save money. So when you do have an infant car seat, the baby's going to grow out of that pretty quickly, because usually after 3 months or so they no longer fit in that tiny car seat anymore, which means you now probably need to get another car seat, a convertible one like the one that I bought initially, which they're not inexpensive if you're going to get a high quality car seat. So for example, I think mine costs around $300, which is an amazing investment because it's 4 to 70 pounds, which means I'll never have to buy another car seat. Whereas if you buy a travel set, then you're going to have to buy an infant car seat as well as a convertible car seat. So that's something to keep in mind on a minimalist perspective and a money-saving perspective. Also, if you buy just a convertible car seat right off the bat, you're not going to have as many things to store. It's one less thing that you're going to have to keep around. On that same topic of car seats, I think something that is completely unnecessary that people might recommend you buy or have is accessories for the car ride. So things that you can hang on your car seat for the baby to play with, or the mirror that goes behind your car seat, which I do have one of these, I will say. So I have one of these just because I drive a really big Tahoe, and I think it just gives me peace of mind to be able to look back and see that my baby's in like a good position and he's okay. Plus I just like seeing him. But I know that these are also technically a safety risk, which completely makes sense. I've noticed before too, like it's very distracting to have to look back at my baby like completely turned around and then look back at the road while driving. So I don't think they're the safest thing, but I do have one. However, I don't think they're necessary, so I'm going to put them on this list of things that you don't need to buy or register for. As far as the toys, the reason I think they're unnecessary is, once again, it's not I think they're unnecessary, it's that Magda Gerber and Rosalind Ross, all these people that I'm really, really fond of, they deem them unnecessary because kids are very, very stimulated from the moment they arrive here. And when you're in the car, it's even more highly stimulating because there's a lot to see and a lot to see outside of the car. So babies will be perfectly satisfied with absolutely nothing but themselves in the car seat. So it's one more thing that you don't have to buy. Alright, the next set of things are general accessories for your baby. And these are things that many people tell you you need to have. You're going to have to occupy your baby somehow. You really need to stimulate your baby's mind. And once again, there are many, many reasons as to why these are not truths. But I'm going to just go ahead and start with a few particular products. So a walker, a jumper, or exercise, or like a baby swing that comes from the ceiling. You like hook it in the doorway. And the reason I don't think these are necessary to purchase, or and not only not necessary, but probably not the best things to have in your home, are because they put your baby in a position that they could not get into on their own. And once again, this is not my personal philosophy or whatever. These are things that I've read and I really strongly believe to be true, based on science and real evidence. So based on, once again, Dr. Emmy Pickler's research in her bulletin number 14. By the way, guys, the sun's going down, so this lighting might get kind of funny. But Dr. Emmy Pickler talks about how, you know, it's best to just let the baby grow and develop naturally, just like an animal in the wild would. And that's how you're going to have the most agile, the most highly functioning, cautious but ample children. So these are going to be the most well-developed children physically when you just let them learn everything at their own pace and don't force them into positions that they can't get into on their own. That means even just pulling your baby to sit up when they can't sit up on their own. Emmy Pickler and Magda Gerber, and actually Maria Montessori, all say the same thing, that you know, you don't need to help your baby pretend that they can walk or stand when they can't. That doesn't make much sense. It's better to just allow them to play freely and happily in the position that they're comfortable in that time. of their development. So I don't believe in putting my baby in an exercise or a jumper, a swing, anything like that, just because I think it's better for him to play naturally. So, and he's totally happy doing that, and I observe that on a daily basis. So that's the first reason that I don't think those things are the best. The second reason is that not only are they giant and really gaudy, or like just very loud objects, to have all around your house, but so it's one more thing to buy, one more thing to store. Obviously they're not aesthetic things to have in your home if you're somebody like me that likes my house to have some sort of feng shui. But they're also usually really, like I said, loud and bright colors and things, and actually, according to Maria Montessori again and Magda Gerber, children are, and I'm going to continue to reiterate these exact same concepts, but they're so stimulated from the moment they arrive. And they use the analogy, and I forget which of these women uses this analogy, but they say, imagine yourself in a brand new country, in a very exotic place, with all new foods and sights and smells and everything new. Imagine. So that is how your baby's viewing the world around them. You know, they've never seen the texture of the ceiling or dust particles in the air. The most simple things that you couldn't possibly notice, a baby is like completely engaged by them and fascinated with them. So having a bunch of flashing loud buttons and music, it might seem like it's entertaining to them, because surely it is to certain babies, but it also they say that this is something that's going to cause a passive baby. So really, like, exciting toys cause passive babies, and passive toys like blocks, different kinds of balls and things, which I'll talk about toys in a moment, those are going to create engaged, happy babies. Which my baby's crying, but my husband's here. One more thing to add about the walker, Maria Montessori does okay walkers, so just so that nobody's like, hey, that's not true about Maria Montessori. She says it's okay if the baby can get in and out of it on their own, so that's that. But I just don't believe that you should put a baby into a position that they can't get into on their own, or tell them that they can do something when they really can't. I would rather my baby really be walking, or really be laying down, if that's all he can do at that time. It's okay, what's the rush? The next thing on the list is the pack and play, which I do own one of these, and I registered for one and I got one, but I actually prefer not to use it because it's not a 4-foot by 4-foot space for my son. If I do use it, it'll probably be while we travel as a sort of bed, if I don't prefer to co-sleep for some reason. I don't know. I don't know if it'll come in handy, but it's my own fault for registering for it, and which we got a really nice one, it's beautiful, but I don't think it has enough space for Donovan to freely move and explore. So I prefer just creating his nursery as a yes space and giving him as much freedom as possible to move and enjoy and, like I said, explore. So no pack and play, no exercise, no jumper, no swing, none of that stuff. Just let your baby have a safe environment and be free. It's my number one advice. Okay, the next thing is a high chair, and I'm on the fence about this, but like I said in the beginning, I'm basing all of these recommendations off of the Rye philosophy and the Objectivist philosophy. Doesn't necessarily mean that I follow them to a T. Obviously, you have to do what works best for you and what you personally enjoy doing for you and your family, which is how I approach parenting in general. You know, I like these guidelines, but I do have following a high chair. Someone gave me a high chair. I didn't intend on buying one. I liked this one from Stocke. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce that company's name. I wanted that one because it's convertible. It kind of moves with the size of your baby. And but my neighbor kind of just gave me a high chair, which was really, really kind. And it's the peg something, I forget what it's called. I'll figure that out. I swear, I'm always like slightly unprepared for these videos. It's a really nice high chair, and it is convertible. It does go up and down, so hopefully Donovan will be able to get into it on his own, which will make it, I guess, more of an ethical choice later on. But now it's not, because I have to put him in and take him out. But I just communicate with him, and I try to feel it out when I think he's maybe uncomfortable in there. And luckily it does recline, so he is almost in a lying down position. But my advice on this would be not to get one, just because it's kind of a bad habit. And also it's not necessary for many reasons. But I don't know, like I said, I'm still torn on it because my baby is not eating solid foods. I wanted to do like baby-led weaning with a Montessori style small table and chair, which is why I say that you don't need a high chair, and I'll do a whole separate video on that when I'm actually dealing with it personally, because I want to make sure that I'm telling you guys the truth all the time. So, I don't know if that's going to be an easy process, but I'm going to attempt to do my solid food introductions that way for Donovan. But that's why I say you don't need a high chair. I do use one from time to time because we were given one, but I prefer to not use it. The only times that I actually use it are when I want him to be, or he wants to be in the same space with me, but I'm working on something. So if he's watching me cook, watching us eat, or watching me do the dishes. Usually it's in the kitchen, but that's when I use my high chair. And for that, I say you could probably benefit from buying a Moses basket when your baby's younger. But sometimes I do lay like a mat on the floor in the kitchen, which sounds really funny, but I just want him to be able to be free. And if he wants to be next to me, there's no problem with that. So that's my advice there. The next one is a baby carrier, and the only reason I don't think this is necessarily a must-have, something that you need to buy or register for, is because I rarely use mine. And like I had said in the beginning of my video, this is advice based on my lifestyle and what's worked for me, but I know people that love baby wearing and stuff. I just personally really hardly ever use it. It kind of makes me nervous, and I feel like he's really uncomfortable in it. So I prefer not to use mine when I don't necessarily need to, but I would say I use it on average maybe like once every couple of weeks. I was really fortunate, and my mom and dad got this as a gift for us, so I didn't really have to put much thought into it, and Ben was really excited about the concept of wearing Donovan. But Magda Gerber talks about baby wearing, the phrase in general, which makes it sound like your baby's an accessory, which is something that objectivist parents and RIE parents really are strongly against. Our babies are people, all of us, whether we recognize it that way or not. Our babies are whole people from the moment they arrive here, and I think we should treat them that way. So the phrase baby wearing is kind of disrespectful, just because baby's not a purse or something. But it is a really nice sense of connection and closeness to wear your baby. But personally, for me, it hasn't been an essential thing to have, just because I would rather, once again, just have him in his natural position, which is just laying flat on his back. So I do take him a lot of places in his pram. Other than that, I honestly don't like taking him many places that aren't like baby friendly. So if I am going to the grocery store or something, or shopping, I try not to do it while he's like awake and needing to explore. If he's asleep, then for sure I'll take him on longer errand trips and shopping trips and things like that while he's in his pram. But if he's awake, I try to keep my shopping trips and things like that limited to like 15 minutes, so I can just hold him, grab a few things, and go. I'm always trying to be mindful of him and how he's feeling. And the other thing about baby wearing or baby carrier that Magda Gerber talked about is that mature, evolved people can feel love without somebody necessarily holding on to them tightly. There are many ways to express affection and love to your children and to any person that you're in a relationship with, aside from physical closeness. And the reason she indicates that is because she sees a lot of parents, and I do too, that are claiming to wear their children in a baby carrier for this feeling of closeness and show them that they love them, but they're not paying any attention to them whatsoever. So they are in the grocery store doing what they need to do and whatever. Like I said, I do own a baby carrier. I use it from time to time, but I just don't think it's a must-have thing that you need to buy. One thing for the nursery that I think is unnecessary, actually two things, are the humidifier. I just think it's unnecessary. They're like really bulky, kind of difficult to clean, and not extremely effective or useful. Like I said, maybe it is really important for you to have one. That's totally fine, just not for me. Humidifier and also a diaper pail. I feel like these ones are not very hygienic or sanitary just because you have like all the diapers in one place for an extended period of time. I much prefer to use these little disposable bags, these tiny bags. My mom showed me that they have them at the dollar store or the Dollar Tree, and they're just really tiny little green disposable bags, and sometimes you can get them scented, but I just like to keep those in my diaper drawer and throw a diaper in there, boom, and put it in my regular trash can or garbage can, just because I don't like for them to collect. My son doesn't really go poop very often, and I've heard that's really common for breastfed babies, but if he has a poopy diaper, I'll usually just toss that one out right away because I do live in an apartment and I can just go right to the garbage chute. But for the most part, for pee diapers, I just throw them in our regular garbage, and it's much easier that way. And once again, one less thing to buy, one less thing to store. As far as a diaper bag goes, I bought this really awesome, well, I didn't buy it, I got it as a gift for my baby shower, and it's a really awesome backpack. I wanted something that's versatile for me and for Ben. This one's great, and it came with like a changing pad and spots for bottles and all these different compartments and stuff, but it was unnecessary, I'm not going to lie. I think diaper bags are awesome and adorable and really cool, but at the same time, if you're looking to cut back on your expenses as far as a new baby, this is something that I would say you can probably find in your house already and that you don't need to buy. I like using a big bag sometimes as opposed to using my backpack because that thing gets really heavy, one, and two, sometimes it's just not convenient to have more than one bag because I don't use this as my purse. So maybe that's the root of the problem. Maybe I need to get a diaper bag that looks like a purse, but I personally like the bags that I use. So I do carry either the diaper bag in my truck and then my regular purse for the day. And I just prefer to like throw a diaper, an extra outfit, and my little, what's it called, diaper wipe or baby wipe container into just whatever bag I'm carrying that day or into my car and call it a day. I don't necessarily ever need like a ton of things for a regular outing, which is usually just us going to the park or running to pick up a couple of things. We usually kind of stay around the same routine anyway, so I don't think a diaper bag is an essential thing to buy. But if you do buy one, I'm going to link the one I have below. I really like it. The next thing on my list is toys, and I love what Maria Montessori has to say about toys, so I'm going to actually just read it verbatim here. She says, the most marvelous aspect of the child is that he's quite an acute observer who sees things we cannot imagine he can have seen. How peculiar then that we believe we must use bright colors, exaggerated gestures, and loud voices to attract his attention. So, with that being said, which I love that quote, kids are very, very overstimulated. This is probably sounding really like a broken record, but they're very overstimulated from the moment they arrive, and to have a ton of loud, bright, patterned objects thrown in their face all the time is just not only obnoxious but completely unnecessary. So this is a good thing for you guys that are becoming new moms or moms that are looking to declutter their houses or simplify their lifestyle and their home from a cleaning perspective, from a money perspective, and just from an organizational perspective. So I would recommend, like Maria Montessori recommends and Magda Gerber, very simple objects of play, blocks, different textured balls, handkerchiefs or scarves. That's pretty much it. Oh, I use a little salad bowl for Donovan, but baskets, simple instruments, things like this, like simple playthings, kids get a ton of use and entertainment from. So I highly recommend very few toys, very simple toys, and organic toys. One more random thing that I think is unnecessary that people might suggest to you, which, surprise, surprise, once again, I do have these things, but I thought they were so cute when I was pregnant, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have that for my son. And it is a baby bathrobe or bath towels, like hooded bath towels, and these are just so unnecessary, you guys. I find myself really always using an adult bath towel and just wrapping him up in it, and he looks just as cute, and you know, it's just actually a lot easier. And you know, it's just really difficult to put a baby into a robe, and it's also just like such a waste of time, except for the fact that this little lion robe that my aunt got me for my baby shower is so adorable. It's just, once again, an extra expense, an extra thing to store, and it's just unnecessary. A huge towel, your baby's gonna look really cute and snuggly and sweet, and just like they would in a hooded bath towel with a whale on it or whatever. My last two things are things that were unnecessary for me, but they might be necessary for you, and they are breast creams, so like nipple creams for nursing moms. This wasn't necessary for me. I did not have any problems with pumping or breastfeeding, thank goodness, but when I did feel a slight soreness or like they were getting kind of dry, which I keep myself really, really well moisturized, I guess, so maybe that's why I didn't run into many problems, but I use coconut oil just because even though a lot of these products claim to be organic and blah 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 free, I just prefer to use a pure organic substance that I know my baby's not gonna like get sick from or just have a weird reaction to. I would recommend just using the coconut oil that you probably already have in your house for any type of dryness or irritation. It will most likely help you out quite a bit. And on the same note of breastfeeding, I don't think it's necessary to buy a boppy pillow, just because I highly recommend lie down breastfeeding. It's just easier on you and your baby, and also anybody can just pick up any random pillow in their house and use it to prop up their baby if they prefer doing so. And it's one less giant thing to store and wash and care for and buy. So that is my last item on the what you don't need to buy or register for your newborn. Wow, so I could have opened the blinds a long time ago, but now I'm done filming my video. If you guys really enjoyed that, I hope it was insightful for you and helpful for you. I know this would have been immensely beneficial for me when I was an expecting mom, just because, like you noticed, I have a lot of the products that I say are unnecessary, and I would have, if I wouldn't have read a lot of the books that I did read while I was pregnant, I would have totally bought a ton of things that I really didn't need and that were really actually not harmful, let's not be dramatic here, but were not good for my son and his development, not only mentally but physically. So hopefully you guys feel the same way about this advice. Thank you guys so much for watching. That wraps it up for my what not to buy and what not to register for your newborn video. If you found this video helpful, it makes me super happy, and I would love it if you would subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. And I really hope to see you again next time on my next video. So, see you then. It's so corny.